someone going and speaking about it.
Don't have a go at me for bringing it up.
No, but I wish I would have just been able to tell him rather than...
But babe, you should have just told him then that I'm not falling out.
No, I'm not falling out with you, but I wish you would have said to me, well, Mol, I think you should have told him. I don't think it should have been like, oh, I've come out and then there's a whole conversation going on.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't get how someone can say something and then the other person is offended. And then you now say, oh, why are you offended? It's not a big deal. Well, I am offended because I don't like what you said. And just because it's not a big deal to you doesn't mean it's not a big deal to me. And so for Arabella to sort of try and brush over the fact that she gossiped, I don't get it. Anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island UK All Stars, Season 1, Episode 28. Another day in the villa and it's still the same old mess. So the islanders get ready for the night and pick up their drinks. And then, you know, they sort of go off in pairs. You have Arabella talking to Adam and telling him how happy her friend is. And that as soon as her friend saw him, she knew that he was her guy. And it's like... I don't think this guy likes you. I'm going to say this again, as much as you like him. And the more you make it obvious that you like him, the more desperate you come across. So I don't get why you keep going on Arabella. I feel like you should just leave him. Let him graft you. You shouldn't be grafting this man. It should be the other way around. But it seems like you're grafting him, and you're grafting him very hard for no apparent reason, because nobody else in the villa likes him that way. So I don't get it. You then have Arabella sit down with Tom, Georgia H and Anton, and they start telling Tom about the fact that the viewers want Cullam and Molly together. And I don't know why they said that, because when Molly sat down with Tom, she didn't say anything. So the idea that they would feel the need to sort of inform him of this doesn't make sense. I am with Molly. And so when Molly finds out, she is upset, and Arabella gets upset with Molly for being upset. And it's like, why? Why are you upset? You're the one who started the gossip mill. Why did you tell him? Why didn't you ask me first whether I had said anything to him? And depending on what I said, then we would have taken it from there. You have no right telling my partner. And this is the same thing with Josh, because people say stuff that offends somebody else. And when the person is offended, then they get upset that why are you offended? And it's like, well, you should have known this was bound to happen when you opened your mouth. You opened your mouth and said something, and then now that I'm upset, you're telling me I shouldn't be upset because it's not a big deal. Make that make sense? How is it not a big deal? It's a big deal to me because it's affecting my relationship. So the least you can do is apologize. And I don't get how Arabella's, oh, I don't want to fall out with my best friend in the villa. And it's like, oh, please, please. You said something. If she was your best friend, you would have had her best interest at heart. You'd have pulled her aside and said, you know, have you spoken to Tom? I think you need to speak to Tom before anybody else sort of speaks to him and lets him know what's being said by the public, or lets him know about the public opinion. I'm very happy that Georgia S wasn't involved in this, because then she would have been, you know, the bad guy in this. So at least let them offend each other amongst themselves. That's a good thing. Cullam speaking to Jess and sort of saying, oh, I'm over. I think Cullam was over Molly before he walked into the villa. That's my opinion. By the time he slept with the 16 people, he must have been over Molly. And so this for him was just making it official. Whereas with Molly, I think she still had feelings for Cullam and was trying to process that. And so do I think Cullam is really all in with Jess? I don't know. I don't know. It could be gameplay. I really don't say it. Because in his opinion, exes are exes for a reason. And so if Cullam thinks that Georgia S and Toby didn't work on the outside, why should they work now? Then why is it he thinks he and Jess can work now when they didn't work 4 years ago? So I'm not buying that. I think it's just a strategic relationship so that he can stay in the villa until the finale and hopes to win. And then you have Sophie tell Josh that she's upset that, you know, Georgia H has been bringing up his name. And it's like, please, this is the same thing with the Arabella situation. You can't say something about someone that's offensive to them and expect them to move on. You have to be able to listen to them, air their piece, because had Josh not started expressing his opinion, Georgia H had not brought his name up. And because he started, he has to wait until she's good and ready. Anyway, he then pulls Georgia H for a chat. I personally don't even get why Josh bothered having a conversation with Georgia S. I think the best thing he could have done is apologize to Georgia S. that I'm sorry, I understand I'm your friend, and at the moment, all you need from me is for me to cheer you on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my opinions to myself and wait and see what happens with you and Anton. And left it at that. Because for him to think they could ever agree with Georgia S, it doesn't make sense. Georgia S is not going to allow him to sort of let the world know that she is really not feeling Anton. So I don't know how he expected her to accept that. And so am I surprised that they've agreed to disagree? No. That was coming. And then you have Cullam sit down for a chat with Molly. For me, I'm going to say this. I've said it before, Cullam was over Molly. I think Molly is coming to the villa, and it's taken a while for her. When she realized that Cullam was actually moving on with Georgia S, that's when she sort of started to move on herself. And I think this is why she doesn't like Georgia S, because Georgia S forced her into sort of acceptance that her relationship with Cullam was over. And so, yeah, it was a good thing that they tried to iron it out, but I don't know. I didn't know their relationship before, so to me, it's not any different. And then you have Georgia Steele and Georgia H sit down for a conversation. And they're sort of discussing the fact that, Toby's saying they're closed off, because Toby and Georgia had a conversation and they said, we are closed off, but I can't say we're exclusive until I meet your family and you meet mine, which makes sense. I think he wants to make sure that they both like, each other. I think Toby wants to make sure that his family likes Georgia S and Georgia S's family like him before he can ask her to be exclusive and be a girlfriend, which makes sense, which shows me that he's not after, a relationship for the gram, but is actually trying to do things the right way. And so while they're having this conversation, you have Georgia H sort of call out to Anton, who's in the kitchen. Anton, are we closed off or are we exclusive? And Anton says, we're exclusive. Do you want to be my girlfriend? And it's like, maybe you should have pulled her aside for a chat. I know Georgia S was saying, oh, this is what I like, someone who's quick to make up his mind. And it's like, well, I'm not really sure whether Georgia H is as in with Anton as he is, one. And I'm not sure whether Anton is really in this relationship or whether he's just doing this for the gram. So I would have preferred to take her aside, especially given what everybody else has been saying about their relationship. And because she took the long pause, you could see everybody sort of going, what's happening here? Is she going to turn him down? Is she going to accept? I don't know. I really don't know that couple. Anyway, all the islanders go to bed and everybody is happy in their couple, obviously, because they know that there's no more sort of reshuffling and whatever. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. In the morning, the islanders wake up and have a debrief. And for me, it was mainly about Molly and Cullam's situation, and then the Georgia H and the Josh situation. And it's like, I personally don't get, both situations are similar in my opinion, because I don't get how Arabella and Josh don't understand why Molly or Georgia H would be offended. You can't say something or do something and expect the other person to forgive you or to move on at your pace. They are entitled to feel how they feel, and you are entitled to sort of your opinion, but at the same time you have to be responsible for the consequences of your actions. Because if you hadn't said anything, then Georgia H wouldn't have gone on about this for 2 days, and you can't say, oh, why does she keep dragging it? Oh, I just have my opinion shouldn't matter. Well, you were friends. And as a friend, you'd know that maybe your opinion carries more weight than anybody else in the villa. And maybe if somebody else had said the same thing, she would have moved on. But because you're the one who said it, this is why she's stuck on it. You have Cullam sort of not understanding why people still feel he and Molly should, be a couple. And it's like, well, you sold this relationship for 3.5 years. What do you expect? People bought into it. They're emotionally invested, so they're going to want the two of you to get back together. With time, they will move on. But for now, they're stuck at Cullam and Molly, and it is what it is. Tom, I'm not buying him. I don't know what they see that we don't see. I don't think Tom is the best guy for Molly. Maybe he's the best guy for her to move on from Cullam, but I don't think long term he is it, because we saw how he behaved with Sam in his season. He made it seem like he was head over heels and then dumped her, or she dumped him. I don't know what happened once they left the villa. So I don't get it. Anyway, the islanders then go outside, and you have Tom pull Cullam for a chat, and it's like, oh, why are we making a big deal out of this? So Tom pulls Cullam for a chat. That's like watching paint dry. They're both so boring. I don't know. Maybe that's why Molly likes both of them, because it's just like watching paint dry. Oh, I thought, Anyway, the conversation is Tom more or less trying to sort of iron out, and I think Tom was trying to get confirmation from Cullam that yes, he and Molly are done, and it's like, well, what do you think? You'd have seen it if they were not done. So you having to sort of say to him, she's gone from being closed up to suddenly opening up and saying she's only got eyes for me and blah blah. And it's like, Tom, please stop. We know you're not really serious about Molly. We know with time you're going to move on. This is who you are. So the idea that you would want to sort of get clarity from Cullam doesn't make sense to me. I feel like the producers are the ones that asked for that conversation, and it was just so dry, but hey, it is what it is. Then you have Arabella have a conversation with, Adam, sort of saying she felt as Molly's friend, she needed to sort of tell Tom what was being said. And it's like, nah, it wasn't your place. Molly should have told Tom herself. It was, whether you're best friends or not, your goal should be to protect your friend at all costs. You should have pulled your friend and told her that before anybody else has a chance to tell Tom, you need to tell him first. So the idea that you as the friend don't realize this, then it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what sort of friend you are, because you should always have your best friend's interests at heart. Oh, I guess there was really nothing going wrong all day, because we have another, the islanders get ready and they pick up their wines, and then you have Cullam and Molly have a conversation. Obviously, Molly is appreciative of the fact that Cullam did sort of reassure Tom that there was nothing there left with Molly. And for Cullam to sort of say to Molly, why don't you ask Tom to be your boyfriend? And it's like, well, if you really had her best interest at heart, you wouldn't be saying that, because Tom's track record, is terrible. Is terrible, because he left the villa with Sam, and everybody thought that was it with him and Sammy, and yet we later found out that he drove miles to go and see Georgia S. So I don't think he's the right guy. I think they need to leave the villa and sort of try and date for a bit and see whether he's actually boyfriend material before she asks him to be her boyfriend. Besides, Tom is way younger. I don't know how old Molly is, but Tom is only 24. Then you have Georgia H sit down with Anton, and they're making out and whatever, and then they fall out again, and it's like, oh my God, this relationship is only as long as the publicity it will get. Once they stop getting publicity, that's the end of it. I really don't see it long term. I agree with Josh, but I think the delivery from Josh is the reason why she sort of feels some type of way. Molly pulls Tom to the terrace for a chat, and it's like, I get she's a slow burner, obviously, given how she behaved with Chris and with Toby, but I don't think this is the guy for her. I think this is the guy to help her move on from Cullam, but I don't think this is the guy for the type of relationship that she's after. She might still need to keep looking. She might need to go back into the sea and see if there's any other fish, because Tom is not it, in my opinion. So it's interesting that Molly received a text message to say the hideaway was open. Given the fact that she and Tom have had this back and forth, this reassurance, this whatever, I would have thought she would have wanted to go to the hideaway with Tom. That way, they can have privacy and actually discuss further, because yes, they did go to the terrace, but I think this would have been nice for them. But for her to volunteer Arabella and Adam doesn't make sense. Someone else shouted Josh and Sophie, and yet that was drowned out by Molly, who kept going on about Arabella and Adam. And it's like, there are other couples that have been together a lot longer than Arabella and Adam. Why are we pushing them forward? And if you really like your guy that much and you're really romantic, why are you not going with him to the hideaway? Why didn't she shout out Cullam and Jess? It makes me feel like some of these couples are just strategic, and they're just there just to be there. I don't know. Nobody at all volunteered Toby and Georgia S. Maybe they didn't feel that they needed that, but hey, it is what it is. Arabella went with Adam. I got the ick. The fact that he wore his wrestling trunks and was doing all those wrestling moves. I got the ick. And the fact that Arabella is the one who's always talking about how well this is going, how she's really attracted to him, how she's been having a bad time. And he is not at all gushing about her as much as she's gushing about him. So I don't know if there's really any feelings coming from his side, but hey, it is what it is. You then have Georgia H and Anton go back and forth again in bed. And it's like, seriously. I understand where Anton is coming from, where he's saying that, you know, he's been taking her feelings into consideration and has had to sort of put his feelings aside in order to make her comfortable. But at the same time, I think just like Josh did to Georgia H, she's now doing the same to Anton, in the sense that she's not taking his feelings into consideration. She can't expect him to move on when he feels offended. The least she could have done is she could have asked him to go downstairs. They could have had a conversation and then taken it from there. But the fact that she was saying he's making a big deal out of nothing, to me, that's off-putting. I'm sorry, that really is off-putting. And I understand why he decided that he wanted to leave and he went and he slept downstairs. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he walks out, you know, the next day and goes home, because I think she was inconsiderate. I think if nothing, during the night, she needs to go downstairs and talk to him, because I think he's offended. He feels some type of way. Yes, maybe the bedroom with everybody else who's doubting their relationship wasn't the best place to discuss their problems. But I still feel like, you know, she was very insensitive, but that's just me. Anyway, I digress. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 27. Bye guys.